Peter's a class act. Are you going to go down there and see him?
Yeah, well, I'm debating, because Dave Mason's going to be there like a week before. So I'm like, all right, Dave Mason, Peter Noon. Okay, can I do both, or do I have to choose?
So you should have Dave Maxwell on your show.
Please leave your...
Dave is a Boston area legend. This is Louisiana Red, You Got to Move. Autograph to Joe. So he was on visual radio in Winthrop. What a great guy. We talked about Freddie King, because he was Freddie King's longtime piano player. Boston Garden. Amazing. There's legends in the region people don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, why we don't have a music museum?
Well, we have mm1.org
Right.
on the web.
On the web, right.
I write for those guys.
Yeah. But I mean, an actual building, and I mean, there's just so much history of music here that I'm surprised that we don't have anything.
As with public access, as with many things in life, it's like a ragtag fleet, Richie. We're busy doing what we do during the day, you know? And it's very hard to get, everyone needs to have a few $1 million before even, you know. I hear that one of the great promoters in Boston has, at one of his residences, mint condition posters from the early days of Boston rock and roll.
Oh, is that right?
One of the major promoters, I mean, there's only one of them, so do the math. But I guess because he was the manager of the Tea Party, so I guess there's these unbelievable posters from the day. He knew enough that they were of value, and he's got them in one of his residences.
Well, the other day when I was at the Record Expo in Dedham, I saw some Beatle lunch boxes and little figures. Joe, when I was 10 years old in '64, and the things I had, and it's like, I never thought of saving them, and it breaks my heart to think, you know, I mean, I had Beatle wig, I had Beatle guitars, buttons, posters, all the Beatle cards, and a 3-ring binder notebook.
I saved them, but I didn't realize that you have to take care of them, because I would read my comics again and again and again, and, you know, I sold them, but, you know, they were a lot more valuable than I realized. I had the first Conan, and
Right.
a lot of early X-Men and vintage stuff. Jack Kirby was just such an amazing illustrator. Stan Lee, such a great, I don't know if you had comic books.
I did, yeah.
Stan Lee in his writing was impeccable.
Yeah.
We'll never see that again.
No,
It's like the
no, you
Beatles. They were the Beatles of comic books.
Yeah. Speaking of the Beatles, which the phone caller alluded to, the Ed Sullivan Appearance, have you ever seen the DVDs? I'm sure you have, of the appearances on Ed Sullivan.
I can go you one better. My bass player, Bruce Fromke's sister, Susan Fromke, who worked for the Maislers, he took me up to the office. I actually saw, right from the film, stuff that was never shown on TV. So there's a lot of footage they have.
That they didn't even use, yeah.
That, you know, eventually, you know, all this stuff is going to come out.
It'll show up somewhere, sure.
Here's what we're looking for, people. Before bootlegs came out, back in 1966, there was a Beatles tour. People were bringing tape recorders. They were allowed to bring these big reel-to-reel recorders. I guess at Suffolk Downs, they were recorders seen in the field. These tapes have never surfaced. Now, that would be amazing to hear the Ronettes and the Circle and the Remains, Bobby Hebb, the Beatles.
Yep.
Now, I got some inside info. I guess when you're sitting in the press boxes for the horse races, they would have specific sound coming in through those speakers. The fellow who mixed Suffolk Downs was also at Woodstock. He had put pure sound through the speakers. If anyone was up there with a tape recorder, they would have gotten a mint. Without the screams, they would have got pure sound of the Beatles performing.
We'll talk about a great album that came off of a tape recorder, as you were mentioning. How about the Velvet Underground at Max's Kansas City?
I like Kansas City. I do like it. I like the 1969 album. I like the Robert Quine tapes. The Velvets were special, so people were recording. That was who? That was the late Jim. All the people who died. He's one of them now. Jim Carroll. Oh no, Jim Carroll. That was the Bridget Polk tapes.
Bridget Polk. That's right. Yeah, Bridget Polk.
And Jim Carroll is sitting next to her. That's why I thought of him.
And you hear them on.
You hear him talking about drugs. something to Bridget, you know. So the Bridget Polk tapes, fellow Wayne McGuire of Somerville, back in the 70s, loaned me his Bridget Polk tapes. So I heard them. I heard the whole thing before anyone, which was really cool, you know. The Velvet Underground tape, Judy Garland did it. Her husband Mickey recorded. He would record the shows from the balcony so she could hear herself at night. He wanted to boost her self-image so she realized how great she was, because many of these fragile people have low self-image. Judy Garland, you would think, I'm Judy Garland,
Right, yeah.
Wizard of Oz, but
She suffered for so many years, really.
human beings are like a tape recorder. And I'm finding animals are like this too, and if they separate these animals from the mother cat, they become very, very difficult. You know, the cats we adopt the TLCs, and they love our home because we know, you know, that they're TLCs, so we give them that extra love. And they're very friendly with us, but you know, the Kitty Connection, I work with them, and Marie always makes sure that I get the TLCs because no one will adopt them. They're just too skittish. They're beautiful animals, but they're skittish, they're afraid, and you're wondering what happened. People are like that. So Judy Garland got the child star syndrome when Shirley Temple turned down Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And they must have kept her up with drugs and whatever as a young child. It's a very mean industry, isn't it?
It is a mean industry, yeah. I got a wonderful book, a picture book of the Wizard of Oz, showing some of the early costumes that they had for the characters in there, and pictures of Buddy Epson playing the Tin Man. And he had to give up the role because the makeup, he was allergic to it.
He went out to the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
And he found fame there. There's lost footage. They have that. Have you seen the collector's edition where they have there's a dance?
The jitterbug.
Yeah. And what a shame. They spend so much money on these movies. You know what? She might have been trying to call in. We can reschedule this, Richie. You know that? But sure. I'm booked until May. We got Stephen Davis on May 10th, author of Aerosmith, Walk This Way, the new Carly Simon book. Is Mercury retrograde, I'm wondering? You know what Mercury retrograde is, right?
Yes, it seems like it's always in, Mercury's always in retrograde.
We're having some technical problems, but the show's going fine. That's why I went out and I corrected the problem. Did you hear the problem that was going on?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But we corrected it. Lines get crossed. It happens.
It happens.
Rolling Stone magazine, inside Obama's campaign. I mean, you really going to get inside Obama's campaign?
I don't think so.
You know. And it's always the spin, spin, spin. Bill Press has been on the show, and he talks about the spin. And you can't believe anything anymore.
Do they still publish Cream magazine?
No. Boy Howdy, I think you can find on Facebook. So find Boy Howdy, the beer can, and just like it.
I used to read that all the time.
One of the writers who wrote me up in Cream is on my Facebook.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's really cool. And
that was a great magazine.
a lot of the writers from back in the day that wrote up my old records, they're on my Facebook. It's amazing, all these years later. I got a very nice email from someone from California. He said, your record still thrills me to this day. Wow. I'm like John Lennon. I can't listen to it. I'm not like John Lennon in being John Lennon. I'm like John Lennon where he'd make the record and it was hard to listen to it later. You're working on your new thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I have a new single out, Friend. I don't mind listening to that. And this is audio, as I was telling Johnny Byers, from SATV, May 5th, 08. So that's 4 years ago. Today's April 4th. So tomorrow, it'll be a month away from being 4 years old. I can't believe it. And I've got this new single out. It was just pressed up. But now that I found the audio, the great Jason Brabazon transferred it for me from the DVD. I'm going to slap it on the single. it's a hootenanny version. There's like ukuleles and fiddles, and SATV has a thing called the Derby Street Music Show. This is why public access is so great.
Public is great, and we've got to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Well, Richie, here's what I think is going to happen. If you go to patch.com, you see AOL's Patch News, and they're all across the country. Then you go to gatehousemedia.com and you see the Wicked Locals,
Right.
which the Burlington.
Yeah, I was on patch.com today for the Burlington, because I posted a news item on there.
But what's the Burlington Crier, or what's the Burlington paper?
Burlington Union.
The Burlington Union is part of CNC, but Burlington has a Patch as well.
That's right. And they also have the Daily Times, which is part of the Woburn.
And we have the Winchester Daily
Right.
Times, okay, which is like the Haggertys who own the Times are much like in Malden and Medford, we have the Medford Mercury and the Malden Evening Item. So people wonder, why isn't this on the internet? I put my article on the internet, of course. I fly it around to the politicians. But you know, I have a theory. They don't tell me why they're not on the internet. But you know what my theory is? Well, think about it. This comes out 5 days a week. And were your kids ever in sports?
Yeah, gymnastics.
Really? So if you have a daily, the Daily Times, right?
Right.
This has more sports coverage than any paper, more than Patch, more than Wicked Local. And they don't put it online, so if you have schools and the friends that want to buy a paper with their, you know, a girl sees her boyfriend in the paper, she
Yeah.
wants to put it on the wall and frame it, and the parents want it, and the opposing teams use it as a dartboard, but whatever, but they sell papers. That's my theory. It makes sense, right?
It makes sense, yes.
So if you put it online, you're not going to sell the newspapers. And it's coming out daily, so doing an online daily paper would defeat the purpose of getting the advertising.
Right.
It would kill it.
We go, yeah.
So it makes all the sense that, you know, they have 5 days of advertising, 5 days of articles, and they're not going to put it on the web. So it's a different model for local cities and towns. Where am I going with this? That, I think, is where public access is going to go. We're going to be low-power television. I think we'll be for-profit. I think you will see local access having producers who will be doing real news and who will be doing a real local, and they might align with the newspapers. And so it'll be online, but I think you would need a central office. I think you would need some kind of place.
Yeah.
Now, they won't all survive. Clearly, the way Medford's going, there's no community support. And in other cities and towns, it's just kind of soft as the further you get away from Boston. But when you come to Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, you have very strong, Malden, very, very strong access TV. WinCAM's very strong. Burlington's very strong. So you've got this corridor of strong stations.
Right.
What'll happen, Richie? Maybe Winchester or Malden will take over Medford's franchise. Maybe they'll take over Everett. And you might have clustering, and that's not my idea. One of the access EDs said that to me, there might be clustering. So you'll have clustering, you'll have the newspapers working with them, and it will be a whole different business model, but I think community media will survive.
It has to.
You know, some people take it for granted, but some people don't even know that this is your forum, people. If you want to come down here and do your own show, you just join WinCAM and you'll learn how to use the computer. You know how much it costs to learn Final Cut Pro in Boston just for a day's lesson?
Oh, probably about 400.
Very good, $600. I priced it out, right? I joined WinCAM, a nonprofit, for $25 a year, and I'm learning Final Cut Pro, iMovie. I already know, God knows I know how to do the VHS to VHS. And I was finding the old formats from the very first visual radio, and you know, High 8 and Super 8 and all these formats. So I'm going to bring them and do a show with all the old formats just to show people how over the years my show has had to evolve. 3/4 inch and High 8 to now to mini DV.
Yeah, I'm amazed that so many people don't take advantage of it. You know, I mean, it's there, it's available, it's free in some cases. Yeah, I don't think Burlington charges, but
Also, it's free to join Burlington. That's great.
yeah.
You know, that's the way I think it should be.
But we just don't see the turnout for people to do it, you know.
Well, back in the good old days in Medford, 97, 98, I talked to the president and I said we should be going up and down the street and offering subscriptions to join the station, and each person that joins would get 2 free tapings. You know, like Visual Radio has 1 camera tonight, so we don't have a crew tonight, we don't need a crew. If there's no crew available, Visual Radio still works because it's 1 camera.
That's right, yeah.
That's the point. Your show, what was the last show you did?
Maria De Crescenzo's singer was Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Right, we talked about that.
That's right.
And what's the next one?
And the next one, I'm talking to Linda Yost, the widow of Dennis Yost, about being on the show, about the Dennis Yost Foundation for Head Trauma that they just started and have a website for and all.
Did he suffer from head trauma?
He did, yeah. He had a fall and, was, laid up for quite a few years, and then he died a couple of years ago.
And the fall was contributed to it?
Yes.
Wow. I have some questions for Dennis Yost. Can I send them to you and you can consider them?
Absolutely, yeah.
He had the big hit Stormy.
That's right, yeah. Traces of Love and Stormy and Spooky.
And Spooky, and the Atlanta Rhythm section was part of his band, the Classics 4. So you're probably going to that.
Yeah.
But Stormy sounds a lot like the flip side of the theme from Bobby Hebb's song, Sunny. Not the flip side of Sunny, but the flip side of the theme. Lo and behold, listen to it, they model it after Sunny, and then they go and do Sunny. So you got Dennis Yost doing Sunny.
Yeah, what a great voice he had, too.
Yeah, perfect for both Sunny and Stormy. But I remember growing up to his voice on the radio, and Stormy would be one of those songs the DJs would have to play it on a stormy day.
Yeah, so yeah. I'm excited about that. We haven't decided when it's going to be yet. And
in
then,
person?
No, it'll probably be by
Skype?
Skype, yeah.
So you have Skype set up over there?
That's what we're working out the kinks and making sure we get it all set up. And then, of course, Diane Blue will be my guest in May. So
you got 2 lined up, that's good.
2 lined up, yeah.
Do you bump into Rick skiing?
Every once in a while I run into him at the local stores and stuff. I haven't seen him in a while. Great guy.
And Rick Heenahan?
Yeah, I see him every now and then at the studio.
You realize I will only be friends with people in Burlington if their name is Rick. Rick. Richie, do people call you Rick?
I've been called Rick, yeah. Back in high school I was called Rick a lot.
But you notice that all my friends in Burlington are all named Rick or Richie, or not all of them really. There's more. There's a lot more in Burlington.
Most of my business career when I was in publishing as an art director, I used Rich Sarno. Then when I started doing my Access TV and stuff, I went back to Richie, which is what I was raised as. My family and close friends have always called me Richie.
One of my dear friends in Burlington is a woman, and she had us over for a New Year's dinner. It was wonderful. And that's where I met Rick Heenahan, because his mom is best friends with her.
Oh, okay.
And so they were all over the house for Christmas, and he's just talking a mile a minute about his State House stuff. I said, man, what are you doing at the State House? You should be on Access TV. Mm-hmm. You are a natural. And I went up to Burlington. Were you there the night I did the interview with him?
No.
Man, did he get the bug, right? I get his common sense emails. Do you get them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's, it's great. It is what it's all about. But no one told, he had to go to a Christmas party to meet me before and this is what I'm saying. Every station out there, BNN, Scat, all of them, they all do a fine job. They got to do more outreach, because the general public thinks, how'd you get in TV? It's just, you have a zip code, you can be on TV.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I mean, I've been doing it since 2002. I mean, I absolutely love it, and have a lot of fun.
You communicate, but when you go to a record expo like we had Sunday, and I think, Richie, of all the vinyl, and I'm like, that record cost $500,000 to make, that cost $300,000 to make. It cost billions of dollars for all that vinyl. No one thinks about the billions of dollars it took to make and promote those records. Even the mother stampers to press a vinyl record is $250 for every 5,000 records. Something's a million seller. What are you doing? Quick math, 20 stampers, 5,000 times 10 is 50. No, you're doing 20 stampers. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. It is.
Just for the stampers. CD, you make an aluminum, you make a glass master. I think they press up a certain number with the glass master and then change it, but I don't think you have to. I think a glass master can be pretty infinite. I'm not sure how it works.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it's a lot less expensive to make a CD than vinyl. Big cardboard, that costs like 25, 30 cents back in the day. It's got to be 70 cents now for the big cardboard covers and then the printing on them and then the film you're going to make. So we walk into that record expo and there's billions of dollars in recordings there. And I got Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye for $1. And Gary signed it.
That's great.
Yeah, if you want to come down next week, he's here.
Yeah, maybe I'll drop by. And
I'll let you know the time, and we're going to have fun. And I want Rebecca Davis on, but I will do a review of the book for TMR Zoo.
Oh, great.
And,
nice, yeah.
You know, and I'll send you my schedule, so maybe at the end of May she can be on.
Okay.
And she should come up from...
Yeah, I'll try to get her up here, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet her. We talked about doing another program, sort of like a mini documentary on Alan, so that's something I got in the works.
Do you know Peter Noon's manager?
No.
He's tough to get for interviews because he's so busy these days. He does so many signings, and you know, they really have a tight schedule for him after all these years.
Yeah.
But I can hook you up with Jana, his manager, and maybe if you're bringing the camera down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do yet.
I've got a great station ID from Joseph Kahn. Joseph Kahn did Eminem and Lady Gaga and Beyonce videos, Aerosmith. So I interviewed him last Wednesday. I was like, this is Joseph Kahn on visual radio. And Steely Dan, guitar player, was at a convention I was at, so he did a station ID. It's just fun.
It is fun.
And then we're collecting all the IDs, you know?
It is fun. And my recent documentary on songwriter Alan Bernstein, I was privileged enough to have both Engelbert Humperdinck and Gary Puckett lend commentary to the show.
In person.
In person.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, they were both wonderful gentlemen and very gracious. And
did you get that at the North Shore Music Circus?
Gary, Joan Rolfe, you know Joan. We drove down to Mohegan Sun.
Gary Puckett?
For Gary Puckett. That was 5 years ago. And,
whoa!
And Engelbert was up at Lowell Memorial Auditorium like 2 weeks before. So we went up there and videotaped him.
So Joan went too?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good for her.
Good for her, yeah.
She has got to be the hardest working director in all of Access TV.
She loves it.
She's directed visual radio.
Yeah.
Your show is called again?
Turntable.
Do you put Turntable on YouTube?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to start putting it on, yeah. Getting some of my old ones and putting it up there. Excellent,
because it you know...
Yeah, I mean, I'm stupid not to, I mean...
Well, not stupid, but,
not
you know,
stupid,
you might want to hold on to your... You know, you might want to do a deluxe documentary down the road, who knows? But this is so important. This work is important, and people need to take it seriously because it's very expensive to build a station like this.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have it as a resource, I mean, this place, you know, really... In one way, we're fortunate there aren't 500 people banging down the door to be on, you know...
Oh, we never get into the editing suite.
No, and I wouldn't have a live show, I don't think, if there were, you know, 500 people that need to do shows.
That's right, yeah.
And sometimes as the veterans like us, we are tuned into the Dave Maxwells of the world who grace, you know, our show with their presence. Dave would be perfect for you. You want me to hook you up with him?
Yeah, please do.
He's amazing, because especially with Blind Owl. Maybe, I won't put you on the spot. I'll ask you after the show.
Okay.
Regarding Dave and your show and all this. In a few minutes, we're going to call Frank Dilistrito, and we're going to talk about the film Suddenly.
I just saw that a couple weeks ago.
Where?
On TV.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did.
Who was playing it, Turner or?
I think it was Turner, yeah.
So Turner will play Suddenly, but it's public domain.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not positive. It might have been American Movie Classics. It was one of those stations, but very good movie.
So we'll take another minute and a half, Richie, then we'll call Frank. But public access in the future, public domain movies, we need to keep the community alive on community media. And however this all pans out, I want to see what they do because, you know, Redbox is creating TV shows.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and these other people that 30 years ago would never have built it into their business model. You know, I was saying to Continental Cablevision and Media One before they became Comcast, I was saying, why don't you work with us? We're creating content. But they couldn't care less about that because they're like, we could build our own channel and go out with high quality cameras and pay people. So they think in a whole corporate way. But I'm thinking if you work with, and now Open Voice is doing that, if you work with the locals, you're going to get the local, and there's nothing like that. You know, why should a cable provider back in those days, 20 years ago, why should they behave like their NBC? They should have embraced public access. But now that they've, you know, Comcast purchased NBC, other providers, you know, I bet Time Warner will find a way. Are they affiliated with any broadcast, Time Warner?
I don't know these days if they are.
The Warner Network's gone. UPN was part of the Warner Network.
That's right, yeah, they were.
So that didn't last. Probably got sold off to Spike or whatever. Could be Spike.
Could be Spike.
Remember Channel 38 was a superstation back in the day. You could get channels from all around the country on Channel 38.